Hey you guys, what's up? I'm Ashley from heavenathome.org, and this is the Heaven at Home podcast, where my goal is to encourage you in your personal growth journey while being open, honest, and owning my story. We have faith-based conversations and tackle a bunch of different tough topics. Check out the description to follow me and learn more. Remember, you are fully known and deeply loved. Let's do this. Hey guys, how are you doing? Really excited to be back. I'm actually recording this on a weekday, which so far has been atypical. My baby girl Avalise was fighting her nap today. So for the last 3 hours, she was just pure joy to be around. She was really cranky, and she's also been kind of sick. I think it's almost been about a week now that she's been sick. She's been in a pretty good mood all the way up until today, and really I think it's just because she didn't want to go down for a nap. So she's sleeping now, and hopefully she'll be out for a couple hours. We'll see how that goes. So I don't know. I don't feel my best today. I'm not really sure what's going on. I'm in a bit of a funk. And it's not because Ava was in a bad mood or anything. I think it has to do with me trying to figure out what my next steps are. Like, it was just yesterday. I was at the dining room table, and I've been looking for jobs in the education field and in the communication field. And I just kind of had the realization, like, oh my gosh, like, I'm done with school. Like, what am I going to do now? And it's been kind of difficult for me to navigate because I know what my hopes were, and I know how things are looking like they might turn out. So I've really just been praying, really been trying to listen to the Holy Spirit and get some insight, hopefully, by reading the Bible. But yeah, so I'm going to be honest. I kind of realized something about myself this week. I think being so uncertain about the future and what the future is going to look like, it kind of like paralyzes me. Like, it really makes me like lose motivation, and I feel like I miss out on doing what's in my power to do today just because I'm not certain about what tomorrow will look like. And I don't know if it's like some kind of poverty mentality, but I'm pretty sure it is. Like, I always feel like I have to conserve whatever resources I have. Like, if it's like food or emotional energy or time, like things like that, I feel like I always have to stock up for the future in some way if it's uncertain. I don't know. I've always been like that, and it's really weird. Let me know if that makes sense to you and if you can relate to that. It's something I really didn't understand about other people all the way up until this year. Like, I've always been such a future-oriented person, and being able to have like a goal and a clear vision and a dream and all that stuff alone was always something that would keep me going. And really just before the year started, all the things I could see clearly in my head before just started blurring a bit. So that kind of leads me into today's topic. It's something that I've kind of wanted to talk about for a while, but I didn't really know how to talk about it until now. I know that December can be a really tough month for some people. And I want to speak to those of us who might be going through a season of grief, who might just be feeling lonely or perhaps angry or stressed about finances. Really just kind of wanted to talk about what to do when you're in a season of disappointment. And this is one of those topics where if it's for you, it's for you. And if it's not, then just come back to it when it is. Because part of my why, like the reason why I've decided to create a website and a podcast and all this stuff is because I really want to help and empower women who are dealing with hard stuff. And I can't do that without talking about it. So here it goes. I am almost 100% sure that a lot of us know what disappointment is and what it means, but I wanted to look up and share the definition just so we could give ourselves some context, like some deeper understanding as we're talking about this. So I looked it up on Google and I checked two sites. It said disappointment is a failure to fulfill expectations or wishes, or in other words, defeating the fulfillment of hopes and plans. One thing I've noticed is that disappointment usually ends up resulting in some kind of frustration. Like there's almost like a tug of war or like some kind of inner friction going on between like conflicting ideals or conflicting realities or expectation versus reality. I don't know if you understand what I mean, but even emotionally, like disappointment usually leads to some kind of frustration. And there's a bunch of areas where we could feel disappointed. Like sometimes we're disappointed in our relationships. Like we could be disappointed because of a person's behavior, or maybe someone said something that was hurtful or offensive. Sometimes we're disappointed about our progress, the progress that we're making at school or at work, thinking we should have been further along or should have gotten that promotion or should have gotten some recognition. And sometimes we feel disappointed because we just expected something to turn out a certain way in a certain amount of time or with certain results. And other times it just might be a generalized feeling of unfulfillment. And I know you might be wondering, like, how many ways do we need to talk about disappointment? But I just really wanted to make it as concrete as possible so it's not such an abstract idea that doesn't apply in any way. Like, I want you guys to know what it looks like. And I really don't think it's an exclusive topic. I feel like disappointment is one of those things that we've all experienced at one point or another. And like I mentioned before, if this is for you and this is something that applies to you, or if you're just listening and trying to, like take stock of when it might apply to you, take notes or something, I had some questions written down that I wanted to share that I've had to ask myself personally. And they've kind of helped me navigate my own way out of disappointment. And I thought they might help you do the same. So, first off, when I'm at my best and when I am most content, I would describe myself as cheerful, playful, affectionate, ambitious, childlike, and maybe some other things. In my season of disappointment, especially around like this holiday, for example, I've kind of been asking myself, if I were happier or more secure or better off in some way, what would I be doing right now? What simple joys would I look for? And so we're obviously in the Christmas season. Some things that I remember doing in the past were like super, super simple things. I would light a candle. I would bake these cookies. I would watch a lame romantic Christmas movie. I would listen to Christmas music in the car. If Ava were around back then, I would most definitely play with her and read her books, etc. Things like that. And so the first question that I would urge you to ask if you're in your own season of disappointment is, what would you do? What would you have done then that you're not doing now? It's an important question to ask yourself because in a way, it's kind of like you're making the decision to be there for yourself and show up for yourself. Like, I don't know if you've ever had that feeling like, man, I wish I had a friend who would be there for me like I am for other people. I don't know if that's just me, but it's kind of like that. Like, you are deciding to be the person that you need to the extent that you're able to do that. The second question is really going to require you to be honest with yourself. And that question is, what do you need? And you have to think about your physical needs, of course, but also your emotional needs. They are both legitimate and they are both important. And depending on how you answer that question, it kind of leads to our next question, because sometimes you asking yourself what you need requires the help of another person. And so the third question is, who can you lean on? Who is physically available? Who is emotionally available? Who do you trust to give you advice or counsel? Who's able to empathize and understand? And who can encourage you? I think we all kind of go to different people for different things, depending on what our needs are or what our wants are. So that's a question to consider also. Who can you lean on? Who can you depend on? And the answer to that question, depending on how long your season is, or maybe, through trial and error, you try going to this person for one thing and it turns out they're not able to, be there for you the way you need them to. Like that question, the answer to that question might change over time. And honestly, and this is where it kind of gets really hard. Sometimes the answer to who you can lean on is no one. Like sometimes it's no one but the Holy Spirit. And that's just me being honest, like depending on what your season looks like, depending on how hard it is, how long it's been, it might be so sensitive, so unique, or so personal that no one else can really walk you through it or get you out of it except God. So that's something to evaluate also. Like we probably all have to take that one with a grain of salt. So the fourth question to ask yourself, and this is a pretty simple one, so I'm going to make it short. What simple things in your present situation, in your day-to-day, what simple things make you smile? So think about your season right now and what brings you joy? What makes you feel refreshed? What keeps you going? What motivates you? Like sometimes the bigger thing for me might be working out. Working out makes me feel motivated, especially when I'm working out while listening to worship music or a sermon. So just think about those things. What does it look like for you? What simple things make you smile? All right, I'm going to share these next two questions. And honestly, I think these two are going to require the most authenticity and the most discernment. So I think this is the fifth question. And that is, what area in your life needs grace? So I'm going to try to give a specific example so that, I could really make it make sense. But just before I do that, I think there are certain situations when we're in a season of disappointment where we have to go against the grain, against the current, against what other people are telling us it looks like or should look like. And honestly, some people just don't get it when they're looking in from the outside. And I don't know if you're familiar with the stages of grief, but the ones that I can pinpoint that actually happened for me were denial, which I think is the first one. I didn't pay attention to my hurt or my pain or anything. I was just more focused on fixing the problem, on having the bigger picture in mind, working through everything to fix all the issues on my own. And I wasn't really focusing on the damage that was actually done. I was just more into, pursuing my way out of the problem. I don't know if that makes sense. But when I finally got to the stage of depression in my grief, where I was really just sad and I needed to let myself be sad, that was the hardest part. And I remember having to give myself grace and accept what the process looks like for me, accept what the pain looks like for me, and say, hey, you know what? The way that I process my emotions, the way that I think through everything best and most effectively is alone. Other people just exhaust me. I either feel like I have to mask it or pretend like it's not really there, and really I just need to be by myself. And so I remember I had to tell my friends, hey guys, I love you. I know we all have a lot going on, and I would really love to be there for you and hang out with you guys, but I think I need to be on my own for a while. And that's something that's against the current, because a lot of people, especially nowadays, are like, oh, like, don't be a loner, don't be antisocial, don't isolate, make sure that you're connecting and you have fellowship and all this other stuff. But when you're in a season of disappointment, you need to give yourself grace. And so for me, that looked like alone time. For you, it might look like something else. So just take a second and think about what area in your life needs some grace. Where are the growing pains? The follow-up question, I would say, is more for if you feel like you are coming out of your season of disappointment. So when now you're actually doing the hard work and you're dealing with it, right? The follow-up question is, what area needs challenge? So it's interesting because it might be connected for you, it might not be, but for me, it turns out that they're connected. So before, the area that I needed grace was just being alone. Now the area that needs challenge, now that I'm getting stronger, feeling better, more capable, more optimistic, now that I, have a better vision of the future, right now the area of challenge is getting back out there, like socializing, hanging out with the people I love and the people that love me. And they might be related. Those two areas might be related, or again, they might be different. I hope that those questions really do help you and give you tools and, empower you to really analyze and, figure out how to come out of your season of disappointment or how to deal with disappointment. One quote that I believe is the title of a book I did not read is, start where you are, but don't stay there. And I'm going to repeat that again. Start where you are, but don't stay there. I think when you're in a season where you're dealing with disappointment, it can be really tempting to avoid the issue and pretend like things are not a problem. And it could be something really small or something really big. Like, I don't think there's a standard here. But really, I want to encourage you to just be authentic, be real with yourself and be honest so that real growth can happen. Start right where you are, be there, but don't stay there. And so that's pretty much all for today. Let me know if this helped you out, guys. Please reach out to me on Instagram. I love hearing from you guys. I love hearing that you guys are tuning in and listening. Thank you guys so much for listening. Feel free to DM me to send me your feedback. Check out the description below to follow me on social media. This podcast is listener supported. Don't forget to subscribe. Remember, you are fully known and deeply loved. I'll see you in the next one.